President Donald Trump faces more legal issues following another indictment.
Trump is indicted on 7 counts in connection to the handling of several classified documents. The details of those 7 charges have not been released to the public. Trump's attorney, Jim Trusty, says additional charges are related to the Espionage Act, which criminalizes the unauthorized retention of national defense information that could harm the U.S. Trusty also says there are obstruction-type charges and false statement charges in addition to conspiracy. The former president posted on his Truth Social platform that he is innocent and called this a dark day in history. Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Raspani weighed in on the latest indictment.
The indictment in and of itself was not that big of a surprise. We kind of expected it in the last few days and weeks. For people in the legal community, the biggest surprise is that it's going to happen in Miami versus Washington, D.C., which is an advantage for Trump, but was what appears to be the right thing to do because that's where the majority of the alleged criminal acts occurred.